Wet day in the Hungaroring for the start of the AutoGP season. And just saw young Nikita Zlobin, the 19-year-old Russian, being strapped into his car. One of a pair of cars run by Virtuosi UK. 3 cars on the grid from Zelle Racing. That's Luis Silva, the Angolan driver, car number 10. He lines up in 4th place after the qualifying. And all the cars starting for the first time this weekend on wet weather tyres. It was dry in yesterday's qualifying and in free practice. It is wet today. Well, there is Nikita Zlobin in the SMP Racing colours. And his teammate on the back of the grid, one of 2 drivers that didn't set a time at all in qualifying, Johnny Cicotto. Giuseppe Cipriani was the other. Another young driver here. This is Leonardo Pulcini for Fisichella Motorsport, FMS Racing. And he is the youngest man in the field, just 16 years old. So to put that into perspective, Ayrton Senna had been dead for 5 years before this young man was born. That's really quite a remarkable bit of perspective. I'm starting to feel quite elderly nowadays. Cars on the grid in, well, less rain than we've had all morning, actually. And so although there is no mandatory pit stop in the races here this weekend, I wonder how long these wet weather tyres are going to last. The problem with the track here is, although they had a busy racing weekend here last weekend, this is only the 2nd weekend of the season it's been run, and the track is very, very greasy indeed under the water. So on the racing line, it's like ice. Off the racing line, it's almost like ice. Very tricky conditions. The tyres may not last as long as the drivers need them to, because I think it's going to have to be very dry indeed before you dare go for a slick. Here's our pole man, Brazilian Antonio Pulcini. You've got to say the most experienced man in the field in terms of top-level single-seater experience. 34 years old. Of course, he's raced in this championship before as well, successfully. Raced in a couple of races last year and in 2012. 1 races in 2012. He's raced in Super League Formula GP2 Champ Cars. Formula 1, of course, with Williams, and his debut season of 3 with Jaguar. Raced in Formula 3000 and was the 2000 British Formula 3 champion with Manor Motorsport, John Boone's team, who of course currently race in Formula 1. Well, Antonio Pulcini starts on pole. This is Facu Regalia, the young Argentine. And Regalia has been working his way up through the single-seater ladder over the last few seasons in Europe. Now 23 years old. These are as big and fast a car as Regalia has ever driven. Good qualifying run from him. He and Pulcini swapped fastest times. Regalia fastest in Q1, and then in the final elements of qualifying, it was a better lap from Pulcini, who got it all hooked up to go on the front row of the grid. So cars start now behind the safety car for the first of the 23 laps of this race. So Bruno Correa heads off, and they will try and build some heat in the tyres and the brakes on this formation lap. And this is really where the experience comes in for a man like our poleman Antonio Pulcini in the black, red and white of Zelle Racing. He knows what this is all about. He's raced in vile conditions. He was British F3 champion, for goodness sake, of course he has. But he's raced in big cars that need warming up in Champ Car, in Formula 1, in GP2. Knows how to get it done. Regalia on the outside, the front row of the grid. GP2 last year with the biggest, fastest cars that he's driven. Did AutoGP here a couple of years ago, and then went up to GP3 and GP2 in the last 2 seasons. Returns to AutoGP. So he'll know the car. New aero package on the car this year from Gibson Technology, the company that was formerly known as Zytec, running the engines, gearboxes and everything else. Lola, this is a BO5 52 chassis, but with a new front wing, different elements and extra turning vanes. Very different rear wing package on it as well. So higher downforce again, and in these conditions, they'll be happy of that. There's Johnny Cecotto Jr., although we seem to be dropping the junior nowadays. Cecotto is 25 years old and starts on the back row of the grid. Just in front of him, Giuseppe Cipriani, the oldest man in the field, who'll turn 50 in June. Antonio Pizzoni, Facu Regalia. The yellow and black car, Leonardo Pulcini. Then Luis da Silva there, the second of the black, orange and white, black, red and white, whatever you like to call it, Zelle Racing cars. Colours of SMP Racing for Nikita Zlobin. And then the all-black car with the yellow patch on the side pods for Switzerland's Christoph von Gruningen, 23-year-old. And again, big step up from him. He's done 2-litre Formula Renault in the Alps Championship, the NEC and the Euro Cup. And this year, stepping into a beast of a machine from 180, 190 horsepower, maybe, 2-litre Formula Renault to 550 horsepower, 3.4-litre Gibson Technology V8. That is a giant leap. And in these conditions, von Gruningen is going to need his wits about him. Safety car stays out. Thinking it is going to be 2 laps behind the safety car. That's the normal number to allow drivers to get some sighting laps in, where the grip is, where it isn't, where the puddles are, where the rivers across the track are. But actually, the track as dry as we have seen it all day, the skies as light as we have seen them all day here in a fairly miserable Saturday in the Hungaroring. The water park across the hillside, not going to be busy today. 14 degrees of air temperature. Don't think many of you will be watching in worse weather. I was looking rather enviously earlier on at the TV pictures of MotoGP from Jerez, where it is clearly scorchio, however. So safety car lights will go out at the end of timing sector 2, which is at the back part, the return down at the end of the lap. And the teams will all be told on their timing monitors, and as a result will tell their drivers on the pit wall. Look how much understeer there is here at these reduced paces, or at this reduced pace. When they turn the wheel, it just wants to push on. You've got to hope that when you get a bit more speed under the car and the wings are working, it will nail the front end a little bit more. Antonio Pizzoni behind the safety car, leading the field around as we get ready to go green this time by. Two laps behind the safety car, almost completed here. Lights off on the safety car, and we are about to go green. And this is where the man at the front of the queue, Antonio Pizzoni, will slow things down to allow the Alfa 4C safety car to get away, so that when he drops the hammer to go at the end of the lap, he does not pass it. Right behind him, the white car of Facu Regalia, yellow and black, Leonardo Pulcini. And then the second Zelle Racing car of Luis da Silva from Angola. But it is Antonio Pizzoni of Brazil who will go about now. Here we go, trying to find the grip in the final corner. He goes deep on the inside. Regalia left 3 or 4 car lengths back. So no change from the grid order. At the background, though, Giuseppe Cipriani trying to put in a move on Andres Mendes, and Johnny Cecotto also trying to pick up his place as into the first corner. Very tentative under braking. Antonio Pizzoni knows it could so easily go wrong. Cecotto goes by Cipriani. They have both gone by the Zelle Racing car of Andres Mendes. Mendes, just 22 years old, as facing the wrong way. Giuseppe Cipriani looping it round, and that's exactly what Antonio Pizzoni wanted to avoid. Any mistakes there? Cecotto's picked up 2 places. There's Nikita Zlobin, the red, white and blue of the Russian Federation, the SMP Racing colours on his car. Currently lies in 5th. He's the first of the Virtuosi UK cars. Cecotto, the second of them. You can see that Zlobin looking around the inside of Luis da Silva, and he's got the young Swiss Christoph von Gruningen behind. That's the black car with the white stripe over the fin and across the nose. Oh, and Zlobin gets it wrong going into the chicane, goes straight across. Now, I know he's only 19, but he should know better than to actually try and overtake the car in front once you've jumped the chicane. So he didn't actually get by, so there is no place to hand back, but see how much these cars are writhing as he tries to get the power down and stay in front of Christoph von Gruningen. Von Gruningen wants to get a hurry on as well because he senses that Zlobin is not fully in control at the moment. And it's better to be in front of a car like that than stuck behind it, especially as he has now got Johnny Cecotto in the blue and white Virtuosi car, or the blue Virtuosi car behind him. Round the outside of Zlobin, good effort from Christoph von Gruningen, looking for the grip on the outside line and finding it on the inside there as well, away from the racing line. Yellow flags at turn 1, and that means that Giuseppe Cipriani is still there, I think. Leader comes down the straight, Antonio Pizzonia. Facu Regalia in second place. Third place is Leonardo Pulcini. Fourth still, Luis da Silva. And then in fifth place, Christoph von Gruningen, up from sixth on the grid. Ahead of Nikita Zlobin, whose teammate Johnny Cecotto turns in on an utterly different line and does find traction. Zlobin spinning the wheels up. Giuseppe Cipriani there on the inside is out of the way, but only just. And Zlobin outbrakes himself in turn 2, goes the long way round the outside, finds no traction on the green paint. Cecotto finding very little elsewhere either. This is going to be a long race for everybody in it. Antonio Pizzonia set the fastest lap, a 2-minute 5.9 first flying lap. To put that into perspective, that is 30 seconds slower than they qualified. So at least 25 slower than you'd expect in race pace in the dry. And Pizzonia balancing, no grip at the front with no grip at the rear and 550 horsepower. And really, conditions vile, but could hardly have been better chosen to allow his experience and abilities to reign supreme here. Got to say, Regalia is doing a great job of trying to stay with him, 2.7 seconds behind. But with a decade more top-flight single-seater experience, Pizzonia should be romping away in the fashion in which he is. Leonardo Pulcini, he's doing a good job. Pulcini, 16 years old, lest we forget. And his experience, well, in 2012, he was karting, as he was in 2013, first car race last year. He raced in Italian Formula 4 with Euronova, finished 4th in the championship. So he's gone from karts 2 years ago to a 1.4-litre Formula 4 car last year, and then to a 550 horsepower AutoGP car this year. That's some progress. Pulcini in third place at the moment, not only qualified well in the dry, he's racing well in file conditions. Leonardo Pulcini, the black and yellow car, in third place. Christoph von Gruningen in fourth behind him, and here is the battle for fifth place with the number 10 machine, Luis da Silva, right ahead of the blue car, number 5 of Johnny Cecotto. Cecotto driving the car off the corner in a fully controlled slide. Attacking hard, needs to try and get by, because he can see that von Gruningen in front got the jump onto Silva and has driven away quickly. Fastest lap last time round for Antonio Pizzonia, 2:03.0, responding to the threat from behind of Facu Regalia. And in fact, he opened up a full second on Regalia, barring 4 thousandths. Battle comes across the line for fifth. So Silva versus Cecotto. Cecotto right behind, a classic Down the inside overtaking move, but not enough grip there. Might have done better to sit right behind Sir Silver and try and force the rookie into a mistake, the youngster into a mistake. Cecotto looking for grip on the inside. Found just enough to get alongside, but then he was braking on the rubber. And the advantage there went to Sir Silver offline. Sir Silver doing a good job here of finding grip. Cecotto's having to be adventurous, and he's not finding the grip he needs. Battle for third goes by us. Here's the battle for fifth. And of these two, I have a feeling that Van Groningen in the black car with the white stripe might be the one that makes the move. And sure enough, down the inside into 6 and 7, has a look. If he'd sat there, there would have been contact, because Pulcini in the yellow and black FMS car did not want to give it up. Leonardo Pulcini clinging to third, Christoph Van Groningen all over the back of him. But for the moment, Luis da Silva is shaken off Johnny Cecotto. Antonio Pizzonia on another fastest lap charge. Decided that enough is enough. Regalia got close enough, down to just 2 seconds behind. Slapped him back by a second on the last lap, and another fastest lap. 2:03.0 to 2:04.0 last time round. 2:03.1 to 2:03.6 this time round. So Regalia with the personal best, but Pizzonia still opens up another half second. Gaps out to 3.5 now. Here's the battle behind. With the yellow highlights, Pulcini, and with the white stripe, kind of skunk tail livery, is Christoph Van Groningen. Van Groningen goes down the inside. You see why nobody likes that. See how much his head was bouncing in the cockpit. It's like a washboard down that inside line. Very bumpy, very rough. And again, behind them, see Cecotto trying a different line on Sir Silver to try and find some more traction. It is still very, very wet. Drizzle has returned since the beginning of the race. It is not drying out in any way, shape or form. It is, cars are getting quicker as the fuel load burns off and there's real heat in the tyres. So we're going to soon reach an apex, I think, and then they will start to decline. Oh, and again, Luis da Silva struggling to find a grip. Cannot get corner 4 through 5 worked out, and only just stays in front to the chicane at 6 and 7. Christoph Van Groningen halfway through the race. We're on lap 10 of 23, so not quite halfway. He's got a lot of time to get by. So he wants to bide his time. See him again chasing the throttle there. Pulcini's got that corner sorted out. And that allows him to stay in front. He gets the exit of 9 sorted, so down through 10, 11, 12 here. Into the braking area at 12. He is comfortably in front of Van Groningen. And Van Groningen is struggling to get on terms here in the final couple of corners. Johnny Cecotto in the blue car in 6th place at the moment. Can't get on terms with Luis da Silva either. Can't get by him. Antonio Pizzonia leads by 4.2 out front. All the interest for the final podium spot at the moment, though. Christoph Van Groningen again coming close down into the final corner, into the first corner of the lap. Looking down the inside once more, and doesn't quite have the momentum, but has he unsettled Pulcini? Leonardo Pulcini looking in both mirrors there to try and figure out where Van Groningen had gone as the spray dissipated. And behind again, Cecotto in the blue car, trying to find a way by, and this time Luis da Silva outbrakes himself again around the outside of 2, and again comes back on in front, and again Van Groningen having a little look inside Pulcini. Battle between the leaders. Gap is now up to 4.2. Cecotto ahead of Regalia, but Regalia again on a fastest lap this lap as this battle for third place rages on. Around the outside goes Christoph Van Groningen. Finally, found the traction on the outside line to just drive around Leonardo Pulcini for third place. Well, we've been waiting for 10 laps for that to happen, and Christophe van Groningen got the car hooked up exactly where he needed to. And that is a good indication of where Johnny Cecotto here in this blue Virtuosi UK car needs to try and make his move. And car 10, Luis da Silva, in capital letters, must respect track limits, being reminded that he must stay on the track. You can't keep your place by running off wide, and again da Silva runs off wide and comes back in front, chops Cecotto, who'd just taken off a tear-off strip off his visor. And if da Silva continues to use the off-track areas in defence, he will end up getting a drive-through penalty. That was his final warning from race control, and immediately, probably before that's even been relayed to him, he's off-track again and then comes back in and chops Cecotto off. Not dangerously, but wantonly. Fastest race lap for Facu Regalia. Christophe van Groningen only just slower. Van Groningen, now he's free in third place. Could be a real challenge for Regalia, were he not 20-odd seconds behind, having to work his way through the field. Cecotto again looking for the run. Gets by da Silva, who is going to outbrake himself down the inside. Cecotto has to open the steering, because otherwise he knew, as you did as well, that da Silva would just come thundering down the inside and T-bone him. And da Silva at the moment is starting to verge on dangerous driving. Give him the benefit of the doubt, but in a couple of places he's been beaten to a corner and just driven down the inside anyway. And I'm afraid that at 24 years old, he ought to know better. Cecotto finds the grip around the outside, just like Christophe van Groningen did last lap, drives around da Silva. And if he could have flicked the V's at him at the same time, I'm pretty sure he would have done. Well, Cecotto here, finding the grip around the outside. Da Silva looking for him and trying to find a way of getting on the gas. At least he didn't drive out, he didn't have the traction to drive out wide and shut the door, to be fair. Facu Regalia, the fastest lap again last time round, 2 minutes 2.239. And Christophe van Groningen now on a fastest lap charge. We're on lap 13 of 23. 12 completed. And Facu Regalia with the fastest lap. Last time round, 2:02.20. Van Groningen faster than him in sector 2. 8/10 slower in sector 1, but now 2:02.1 for the man in third place, Christophe van Groningen. Fourth for Leonardo Pulcini. And here is our race lead battle. Antonio Pizzonia had got out to 3.6 seconds clear. He's now 1.6 seconds clear of Facu Regalia in the white car. And Regalia on this lap has brought that gap down a little as well. 6/10 closer in the first sector alone. And Regalia has the benefit of Pizzonia's teammates circulating in front of them. So Andres Mendes, the number 9 car, that's the car you keep catching a little sight of, 22-year-old Colombian newcomer. And Antonio Pizzonia is going to have to find a way by him, and in these conditions that's by no means guaranteed to be easy. Well, we're not going to get the full race distance. We also have a time guillotine, and that is about to fall. So 12 minutes and counting now, and off goes the leader, Antonio Pizzonia, and that allows Facu Regalia to close right up behind him, but somehow Pizzonia found the traction to pull out about a second in that corner. Where did that come from? Last time across the line, the gap was 1.6. And this is the error in turn 13. Regalia almost touching him, but didn't have the traction on the exit. Gap down to 1.08. And now Pulcini is having to be very inventive. Van Groningen, again the fastest man. 2:02.142 last time. 2:01.87 this time, but he's still 22.5 seconds behind the second place man that you're looking at here, the white car, Facu Regalia. Antonio Pulcini, the race leader, looking for grip. And here is the battle for fourth place now. Leonardo Pulcini, the yellow and black car, versus Johnny Cecotto in the blue car. And the Venezuelan driver gets the grip through the inside of corner one, but runs off the road again at the exit of corner two, or the entry to corner two. And picks up a place anyway, because Pulcini ran out in the middle of corner two. So Cecotto now up to fourth position with 10 minutes to go. But he is about 9 seconds behind third place, Christophe van Groningen. Antonio Pulcini, our race leader, with just under 6 minutes remaining. Facu Regalia in second place. Christophe van Groningen in third from 6th on the grid. Most impressive Van Groningen. Clearly learned a lot about wildly ambitious driving and good overtaking in 2-litre Formula Renault, because he's shown a lot of ambition and a lot of good overtaking and a great deal of speed in third place. We haven't seen much of him since he got third place, but in fact he is lapping quicker than anybody on track at the moment. Right down the middle of the corridor of uncertainty comes Antonio Pulcini. Really triangulates the final corner to try and get the wheels straight before he drills the throttle out of turn one. Final pass of the corner. And keeps his lead just about 1.5 seconds over Facu Regalia in second place. Third place man, Christophe van Groningen, again fastest in sector 2. And a 2:01.3, as quick as either of these guys last time round. I think though Van Groningen might possibly have asked about as much of his tyres as he's going to get. He's still over 20 seconds behind the race leaders. So he's lapping a little quicker, but not enough to bring them into his sights. By the end of this lap, there'll be 4 minutes remaining. So that might give them... No, I don't think it is, unless... No, this is going to be 2 more laps after this. 1 lap with still some time remaining when they finish it. And then the time will run out and the checkered flag will greet them after another one. So we are on lap 16. We've completed 16 laps, we're on lap 17. So we'll get to lap 19 by the end of the race, I should think. Fastest race lap by Christophe van Groningen. 2 minutes 0.868. Was 3 or 4 laps ago. And Facu Regalia. That's what going out onto that paint does for you. He's gone from 1.4 seconds to 1.7 seconds behind in that corner. He lost the better part of half a second sitting stationary, waiting for the wheels to stop spinning as he came off that paint. Again, Pulcini, seeing that the car behind him is not quite so close, being a little bit more ambitious, looking for the grip in turn one. Down the hill, really just no smoothness at all, just hauling the car into the corner, trying to bully it around. Well, these wet weather tyres have lasted extremely well. And that's because it has failed to dry out at all. They have 4 fronts and 4 rears for the weekend, these Kumo wets. They didn't use any yesterday, so they'll pretty much all have 4 fresh tyres for tomorrow's second race, should they be needed. And what they have in terms of dry weather tyres will be relatively fresh as well, since they've only done free practice and qualifying. Just inside the final 2 minutes of time. So we will get one lap after this. The man in the white car, Regalia, again half a second faster in Sector 1 than than Antonio Pizzonia, the race leader. 1/10 faster in Sector 2 was Pizzonia, but that is a net gain of 4/10 so far on this lap from Regalia. Got to say though, even if he catches Pizzonia, he's still got to get by. And we will now be going on to the final lap of the race. 1 minute and 19 seconds on the clock. It's a 2-minute lap, unless you're Regalia, in which case it's a 1 minute 59.80, new fastest lap. Last lap of the race then, and he is all over the back of Antonio Pizzonia. Surely the ex-Grand Prix driver, with all his experience, must hold off this youngster from Argentina. Regalia, just 23 years old. Pizzonia, 11 years his senior. 3 seasons in Formula 1 under his belt, along with Champ Car, GP2, AutoGP, all sorts of other stuff. Can't be rattled by the youngster, and he is. He's gone off. Finally runs out of grip again at turn 5. And Regalia is gifted the lead into the chicane. Now, unless he throws it away. Now, where does Pizzonia? He just runs out of road under braking, gets too much under the tyre, too much slippery surface under the tyre, and off he goes. Now, Regalia gifted the lead that he's worked hard to try and be in a position to take, with half a lap to go, or in fairness, 2/3 of a lap to go. So this is the Hungaroring, and Regalia, with the fastest race lap as well, was tying with Johnny Cecotto, or battling with Johnny Cecotto for pole position in the dry yesterday. I beg your pardon, with Antonio Pizzonia in the dry yesterday. Pizzonia, in the end, won out by half a second in the final period of qualifying, but Regalia was quicker by 24 thousandths in the first period, and he is going to go to win #1 of the season, unless he throws it off at the final corner. It's checkered flag and victory for Regalia. Antonio Pizzonia takes second place, and in about 20 seconds we will see who takes third. It should be Christophe van Groningen. It is Christophe van Groningen, the young Swiss, on the podium in his first ever race at this level. Well, that is a mighty effort from him. A little bit of breathing easy there. So, Regalia for Fisichella Motorsport victorious. Antonio Pizzonia taking second for Zelli Racing, and for Paolo Coloni Racing, Christophe van Groningen claiming the final podium spot. Leonardo Pulcini in 4th, ahead of Johnny Cecotto and Luis da Silva. That's your 4th, 5th and 6th place finishers. And Nikita Zlobin in the second Virtuosi car will be in 7th. And Andres Mendes lapped by the leaders with no major dramas. But Antonio Pizzonia will rue corner 5 on the final lap. Regalia will see that as vindication of a really hard-fought contest. Chased down the race leader time and again, never let Antonio Pizzonia escape for long. And when he had built up a lead, Regalia cut back into it. Pressured him all the way. Fastest lap of the race came on the penultimate race lap. Eventually forced the error. And Antonio Pizzonia will not be pleased with himself. finishing in second place, having led every lap bar the last.